You know, I've had a couple of scary moments. I was always very fit. I was a competitive swimmer throughout my schooling career. My father had been a champion swimmer, so I was very, very confident of myself in any situation, no matter how big the surf was. But what happens in surfing, no matter how fit and confident you are, if you get really drilled, and I mean you get hit really, really hard and smashed into the coral, that impact can stun you and can knock you out. So I remember this one time at Waimea Bay, which Waimea Bay was like the Mount Everest of surfing. Still to this day, it's the biggest wave in the world that you can paddle into. Some guys are paddling into other waves around the world, but this is still the ultimate challenge if you're going to paddle into waves. There are bigger waves if you want to get towed in on a jet ski, but it's the ultimate paddle and test. It always has been, and I think it always will be. So I was in the final of this contest. I was 19 years old. I was the youngest guy in the final, and I was very determined to do well. It was the first time I'd ever surfed at Waimea Bay. Didn't break that often for some reason while we were there in the mid-70s. So anyway, made it to the final. The semis had been held at Sunset Beach. I got in the final, and I didn't even have a board big enough. The surf was a solid 25 feet. So I borrowed a board from someone, because the bigger the wave, the bigger the board. I borrowed a 9-footer from someone, paddled out in the final, and I was really determined to do well, to like stamp my authority on that final. And all the experienced guys from Hawaii and Australia were all sitting in a clump at the takeoff spot. That's where you actually catch the waves. And I paddled right around it on the inside, much closer towards the impact zone, in a much more dangerous place, determined to sort of set the tone for the final. And I remember this first wave came through, solid 25 foot wave, and I remember started paddling for this wave, and I was just so determined. I had my head down, and as the wave hit the reef, it stood up vertically. I took off, and I remember as I stood up on this wave and started going down, I had this thought in my mind: this is so easy, this is a piece of cake. And as I thought that, the wave actually hit a shallower portion of the reef and went absolutely vertical. I went over a takeoff ramp, and I remember fluttering through space, and I dropped about 20 feet with my board just beneath my toes. The board landed, I landed on the board, my legs buckled, and then I skipped across the surface of the water like a stone. Boom, boom, boom. And as I'm skipping across the surface of the water, I'm just thinking in my mind, this is going to be so bad, because it's like happening in slow motion. You hear people that have been in big car accidents, they see it all happen in slow motion, and this is what it was like. As I'm bouncing along, I'm thinking this is going to be really bad, and the whole wave just sort of rears up and caved in on me, and it hit me square on the back. And skipping across the surface of the water is the worst thing that can happen in big waves, because what you try to do is you try to penetrate the surface to get some protection between you and the lip of the wave that's going to come and land on you. You want to get protected by the lip, because the lip is what breaks your board in half. Or I mean, at Waimea Bay, I've seen a guy break his leg. So it's really, that lip is just totally savage. It has just this incredible power. So this wave just converged and smashed me right on the back. It hit me so hard. I mean, the impact, the violence of that impact was almost indescribable, and smashed me down deep. It hit me so hard that it knocked all the air out of my lungs and just buried me down there. It was just dark. And I remember I had to scramble towards the surface. And as I'm scrambling, I'm going, please God, let me get up before the second wave, because big waves are about 23 seconds apart. And I knew that if that next wave mowed me, I'd be toast, because then I'd be under 2 waves, 46 seconds. I don't think I'd have survived that. So as I got to the surface, I got one gulp, and the next wave hit me and just smashed me and just drilled me, pushed me all the way in. And I got to my board that was floating in the riptide, and I had to make that decision, like, what do I do now? Do I paddle in or do I paddle back out? And I remember getting back on my board and just waiting for the feeling to come back into my legs, because I thought, my back had been broken. And I waited there for about 5 minutes, got the courage back up, and paddled back out. And to me, that was one of my greatest victories. I came 6th in the final. I came last in the final. But as a young bloke, to come to that decision to paddle back out, no matter what the wipeout, I think it was a fundamental moment for me, and I think that's helped me right throughout my life. That notion of, man, you got to paddle back out. You got to take the licking, and you got to paddle back out, and that's what I did in that contest. Even though I had that terrible wipeout, I'll always remember that for for the lesson that told me and taught me that, we've all got this courage, these reservoirs of courage inside us, and sometimes we just have to dig deep to find them.